Zachary Campbell, Evelyn Lozada have some words for you. Plus, we're going to talk about something that happened in Chicago involving a black homeowner whose tax rate or tax bill went from $1,800 last year to 5 to 6 figures this year. WTF. All right, you white motherfuckers, all eyes on me. This is the I Refuse podcast. It's Mr. Fox, the I Refuse podcast. I'm back. I was minding my African American business, like I always do. Almost made this close to the weekend. And again, some more nonsense. First things first, happy birthday to Lil' Kim. Today is her birthday. Been jamming out to her second album. An underrated classic. I know a lot of y'all go up for hardcore, but Notorious K.I.M. is where it's at. So without further ado, like I said, once again, I was minding my African American business. And one Zachary Campbell here on YouTube has decided to put out a video in response to Megan Thee Stallion and her new album, with a caption under the thumbnail that says, Megan has yet to evolve or something. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So, Megan Thee Stallion's album has been out almost 2 weeks now, and I have not put it down. She's currently on tour, performing some of the new material from the new album. A lot of people have been feeling the song where she raps, I believe, in Japanese, alongside a rapper and artist. And everybody's been feeling it. Even though a lot of us are like, we really want you to big up BAS, which samples Out on a Limb by Tina Marie. Like, that's the one that has me in the chokehold. A lot of the songs do, but that one there, Megan and her producer, vicious. But anyway, it's tripping me out, along with a bunch of y'all, that Zachary Campbell, who has close to almost 500,000 subscribers over on his YouTube channel, for the most part, very entertaining, very funny. But lately, it's become clear to me that the slant that is biased tends to lean more towards the pink lady. And that comes across in that video. Hell, it's steaming from the statement that says Megan fails to evolve or needs to evolve. And I'm thinking, okay, I may not be like a Megan super fan, but we gotta clock the inaccuracies of that statement. As somebody that has played Megan's current album, which is self-titled, front, back, sideways, around and around, this album doesn't sound like the previous album, doesn't sound like the debut album. And if I'm not mistaken, this probably has to be her tightest album to date. Which is no disrespect to the two previous albums, the mixtapes, the Sugar EP. And on top of that, he's gone on to discuss, or I guess back up this assessment, that while her flow is different and great, the cadence is the same. So this is where I come in. As somebody that's been outside since the 2000s, hell, I've been outside since the mid-90s. Houston rap, Southern rap, is not going to be the same in style, the same in flow, the same in delivery as the East Coast. Just like the same could be said about the East Coast and the West Coast and vice versa, right? The cadence that Megan has is a reflection of Houston rap. And those of us that have been outside for a while, long enough to, I don't know, have a playlist that consists of Houston rap that predates Megan Thee Stallion. You know, Paul Wall, was that Swisher House? Who else is down there? The Ghetto Boys. And then, you know, on a grander scale, you know, UGK, 8-Ball MJG, Goody Mob. You see where I'm going. You know, even throwing a little bit of PD Pablo if you want to. Or, you know, CeeLo's solo stuff. Outkast, Ludacris. Like, there's a special sauce and a special style there. And for me, it's like, in order for you to respect the person, respect the artist, you might want to do a little dabbing and listening to the music scene from which they come from, particularly the rap scene. You know, it's like, it would be the same if I was to say, you know, Big Sean needs to evolve. When I have little to no reference, because I'm not listening to Detroit rap music outside of Eminem, or, you know, I'm not really listening to the whole entire album, right? I'm just clocking what's popular. And, you know, I get that, you know, Zachary does the pop culture thing, but it's like, even on the surface level, I can say that Megan has evolved 1,000 times. And that's aside from the fact of what we've seen play out in real life. You know, the girl definitely has been through a lot. And you can tell from this album, all that adversity, all the tragedy has fueled her to be tighter in her music. So what's the problem? A lot of people feel like his assessment and, you know, trying to back or support the statement that she needs to evolve only adds to the flip-flopping timeline that we've seen across, I don't know, the past year or so. You were, not so long ago, you were just down at one of Megan's things. It was, I think, an event or a party of some kind. You know, everybody's videoing Megan going off, dancing, and all that other stuff. And who's on the other side doing the same thing. One Zachary Campbell. Love you down, but you know, the dirt that's coming out in the wash is apparent. And that's another thing. It's honestly unfair, and he kind of plays into the very thing he claims to be against, which is, you know, the girls shouldn't be fighting, and, you know, this and that. And the bop or flop thing is cute. That's cute. But when you think about it, you know, there's even bias there. And you're only focusing on the popular stuff. And then when you have the opinions that you do of Megan, it's like, in the absence of research and knowledge of Houston rap, Southern rap, your reactions kind of come off like a reflection of your opinion or idea of the character or the persona. It's like, and like kind of measuring that to this narrow window. And it kind of comes off like you're being even more elective and harsher than the next person. And I'm not saying he has to agree. You know, not every person's albums are going to be strong, but we're outside too. Love you down though. Love you down. Moving right along. I haven't watched Basketball Wives since Evelyn's forehead vein, where 85 clocked her. And she was back on Basketball Wives. This was after Iyanla fixed her life, so to speak. And we thought we were getting a new Evelyn, right? I got off of Basketball Wives when it was clear that things were forced. You know, they brought Jennifer back for a spell, and Evelyn was going at her about her daughter, about, you know, Shanice. Like, the girl can't speak for herself. And the energy or the reaction didn't match the offense. And I'm just like, okay, y'all are just faking it at this point for views. And so lately, Basketball Wives is back in its 16th season. It honestly should have stopped about 8 years ago. I'm like, okay, Tammy's left, become a great actress, a great force of nature, and a supporting role over on the Mrs. Pat show. None of the OGs are back. I haven't really been checking for Basketball Wives, but they brought, you know, Evelyn came back. And her latest stunt is she has hired a private investigator to look into Jackie's background. And I've honestly felt like Evelyn is a fan of Jackie's. I mean, I clocked that back when they conveniently got their hands on this book that Jackie's daughter was going to be releasing. And then she turned around and tried to pretend like she was trying to help by donating money to one of her kids. She's always been on Jackie's neck. But when Jackie responds, Evelyn wants to punch signs and stuff, right? So for her to do all that, like, hey, that's what we're doing in Basketball Wives now. Secondly, it's ironic, of all people, that you're feeling some kind of way that this lady may have been allegedly a prostitute back in '87. And it's like, Jackie's been married to that man for almost, 30 years? Well over 20 years. Like, it's not enough that they are bringing people on Basketball Wives to come at other people over something that happened 10 years ago. And that's aside from the fact that none of these heifers are married except Jackie. Jackie's the only legitimate basketball wife. It's time to pack this one up, Basketball Wives, and move on. You know, for Evelyn Lozada to be as pressed as she is, it's like you'll do anything for a paycheck. You know, Basketball Wives stopped being fun and entertaining years ago. And then they tried to bring other reality stars from other shows as a friend of, and then there's this whole thing, and it's like, I'm over it. I'm over it. Like I said, it still gives fan, because, like, why are you that pressed? And these women are in their 50s. And when I say it's ironic, those of us that have been watching Basketball Wives enough knows exactly what I'm saying, and I'm not saying it. Of all people to do all that and be shocked that this alleged PI found that this lady allegedly was a prostitute, I'm looking at Evelyn like, hold on. Like, you didn't just dip it low for the highest bidder across a couple of sports leagues, only to end up not married. You were able to secure, your future for the next 18 or so years from a former ball player. But let's not act like you're Juanita Jordan or Cookie Johnson. Or Savannah James. Evelyn's a fan. I'm not. Moving on. So imagine you're a homeowner in Chicago. Last time you paid your property taxes, it was $1,800. $1,800. The next time the bill comes, it's $30,000. Darryl Lloyd, a black man in a Chicago suburb of Chicago Heights, recently got a property tax bill for his house that is under 1,000 square feet, was built in the 1950s, that he purchased for $115,000 in 2006. A $30,000 property tax bill. Come to find out that mysteriously there was a permit filed on his property, which sent the value of his house up to $1 million, thus making his property tax bill $30,000. Come to find out that within the southern and the southwest suburbs of Chicago, 4,400 other people were also hit with miscalculated property tax bills. And Cook County and their assessor's office. Too late in catching the accounting error of over 4,000 homeowners in those specific corridors of Chicago. Before it was calculated, assessed, bills were printed, and mailed out. Now, things are allegedly on hold until they can get everything corrected. Here's where I come in. Is it me? Is it me? Or does it sound like people are trying to get these people out here are trying to get these black people forced out of their homes so they can come in and take over? Hear me out. So, if you've been out here long enough, you've heard of the concept of eminent domain and the concept of gentrification. And these are, we'll say, incidences where, developers, people with deep pockets want to come in and gentrify an area. 9 times out of 10, the area is predominantly or all African American people. And, if done legally in the right way and without any issue, sure, that's a reality. But in the last, let's see, when was Breonna Taylor killed? I'll start there. Particularly in the southern states, I've come to realize that at the state and possibly the county level of areas that are predominantly African American, there are these initiatives and projects that mysteriously are put in play. So one such case that I heard about through TikTok is that in the city where Breonna Taylor was killed, allegedly there was this initiative by the state of the city, where they were trying to, in some way, push African Americans out of the community so they can come in and do whatever. Not by, reaching out to each individual person, homeowner, and saying, we would like to offer you X amount of dollars. It just so happened to be running, this thing happened to just so allegedly be running concurrently with, allegedly, this is all alleged, around the time that Breonna Taylor was killed. Now I could see if it was one thing of you want to attract more people to a particular city, but at no point is the attention brought to addressing abandoned homes, homes that have squatters in it, homes that in some condition have curbside appeal. It's when it's specifically targeted towards African American communities. Lifers, people that have lived there since civil rights days. And the thing I've seen is the creativity of some folks. In the ways that they're trying to force African Americans out of the neighborhood. Now, I don't know what's going on in South Chicago, but over 4,000 people just mysteriously got a more expensive property tax bill around the same time. And the two parties who each party has the same job every day. How did you manage to miscalculate over 4,000 homeowners, black homeowners, property taxes? You do this job every year. And had the man that spoke up and had the news in Chicago not done a report on it, you would have probably had over 4,000 African American homeowners forced to give up their homes. And when you actually think about it, there are stories across the country of the kind of battles between homeowners in the city or homeowners in the state that risk the homeowner possibly getting their house foreclosed upon or taken away from the state over something as simple as a water bill. Oh yes, that is a possibility. A water bill, a property tax bill, things that are not a fixed rate. And how interesting that this is happening at this particular time. And anybody that's been listening to the podcast, who's been listening to Monday's episode on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, the I Refuse podcast, we talked about Project 2025. And we here at the I Refuse podcast, one of the reasons we talk about these kind of stories is because more people should be made aware. And it's scary when you think about it. Like something as simple and routine as a tax bill could be miscalculated. As if we don't already have enough PTSD from society, right? We gotta worry about miscalculations. We gotta worry about, are we gonna make it through this month and next month? And here comes a tax bill of $30,000 for a house that is under 1,000 square feet. My antennas went up on this story as soon as I got to the part about somebody filing a permit on this man's house. And yet, you don't hear anything else in the story about the county knows who it is. Like, I feel like if people file a permit on another person's property, wouldn't the county and the assessor's office know that? And I believe that is, if you file a freedom of information, a FOIA request, I believe that is public knowledge. So why isn't Cook County telling? Somebody or a group of people are trying to get black people up out of South Chicago. South and Southwest Chicago. And that's where we're at with it. If you don't know by now what Project 2025 is, we talk about it on the podcast, go check that episode out. This is Mr. Fox Therapy's podcast. And I will catch you guys later. Peace. Fendi, like the bag. This is the Eye Review.